What's going on, everybody? My name's Paul,
I'm Chris.
and thank you for joining us here at All In today. So, today we are going to be talking about the new movie, Doctor Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, we both read the book,
Yep.
so we kind of knew somewhat to expect going into this movie.
Yeah, I have a basis idea of it.
But what were you looking forward to most of the movie? Like, what were you, this is a sequel to The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
What were you expecting going into this movie?
I think I expected, I'll say I expected seeing Ewan McGregor playing as Danny Torrance. I was expecting that to be something pretty interesting. I think they did a really good job casting him. So
Yeah,
when I saw that, I was very excited. When I saw the trailer for the first time, I think it was several months ago now. Was very interesting in, but expected wise, I don't know. I think it's what I expected. Very messed up, dark. The most of the bad guys, that part especially. I mean,
the True Knot.
the True Knot, God, oof, oof,
More like truly naughty. But yeah, so it is a very different. I'll say it's a very different type of movie.
For sure.
If you've seen The Shining, being a sequel doesn't mean that they're going to follow really any of the same pattern. Because it's nothing. I would say honestly, it's nothing like The Shining
At all. No, not at all.
You mentioned
different feel altogether. I mean, it is not. It feels like a. What's the good way? I'm pretty sure I've seen another movie like that where like the first one, and the second one, like the Alien,
right?
Versus Aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, they take place in the same universe, yes, but two completely different movies. Right. Alien is an isolation horror movie. Aliens is more of an action going on adventure almost movie. I mean, it's kind of like a little bit of tense elements, but I would not consider Aliens a horror movie.
No, not at all. And so I felt that way about Doctor Sleep as a book.
Yeah.
I was very much like, okay, this is not a horror book, but it's a very cool adventure. I would say the movie is definitely a horror movie. The director, who also directed The Haunting of Hill House,
great show, by the way.
Great show. He really took this in his own direction, and I think in a lot of ways, I think there may be some missteps, but I think in a lot of ways, it really did work for me.
Yeah, me too. I liked it a lot.
I think this story in both book and movie and the concept, it does work as a Shining sequel without just rehashing what the Shining was.
Yeah, interesting. The concept actually, I was reading about that last time to watch the movie because I'm going on IMDb and always look at the trivia stuff. So I love trivia.
Yeah.
Someone actually at a book convention, someone asked Stephen King, like, what would Danny Torrance be doing now? Like, what would he do? What happened to him after the events of The Shining? And apparently, someone asked him that back in '97. And I think he wrote the book in 2011 or 12. I don't know. I've never verified that. But
Doctor Sleep.
So he's been thinking about this for a long time. So
right.
So it's interesting that like the concept came to him from someone on the outside. And so like the whole concept is what would Danny be doing nowadays? What happened to him?
Right. The trauma of what he went through from The Shining. How does that shape Danny Torrance into, like, what kind of man does that shape him into? What kind of adult does that shape him into?
I think they did a really good job delving into him, dealing with comparing him to his dad almost in a sense, and also comparing him to the guy that he met when he first went to this Overlook.
Remember? Oh, Dick Halloran.
Halloran, yeah, kind of like he filled that role in kind of him dealing with what his dad was and him trying to not become his dad.
Right. But in some ways, he ultimately, especially in the beginning, he does kind of become his dad. He falls into the same tropes. And so, like, Doctor Sleep definitely works as a Shining sequel. I'm glad that we got to see some of the old characters come back. You know, like this is a completely new movie. This is based quite a while after the events of The Shining, so of course a lot of the characters were old in The Shining, so it would be tough for them to come back. But that's the good thing about Danny Torrance, is he has The Shining. He can continue to see people after they may have passed from our plane of existence. And so, and that's the good thing about I think it was so smartly written and even directed, the way that it shows Danny as a child picking up directly.
Like this picks up like maybe a week. We don't really know exactly how long, but it didn't seem like. I mean, he was still like the same age, so it was less than a year. It had to be
right.
So I mean, it was maybe a week, maybe a month. Because I think they moved. He said they moved down to Florida not long after.
Right, and
so it picks up right where it left off.
I find that to be a problem with a lot of sequels is, they jump way ahead into the future or something like that. I really like that this, it starts off with, hey, Danny is still a kid and he is still messed up from the events that happen. And it shows Danny kind of, growing up and having to deal with that type of stuff.
And like they didn't spend too long on that either. Like, I'm not trying to compare the book, but if I remember, like it was briefly in the book of him being a kid, and I think they did a good job in the movie too. Because I mean, like you said, I'm glad they didn't skip forward to him as an adult, which is what I assumed they was going to do, and then was going to see flashbacks because I've seen compared to the trailer, you see flashbacks back at the Overlook. But I like that it was like we delve a little bit here, like how he dealt with it immediately after the events, and then how he's dealing with it in the future.
Right. And yeah, like you said, I just think that was done very smartly. And there's also some ways. This movie as it's on its own stands alone, but there's a lot of people who are going to watch this that has read The Shining.
Yeah, I mean, The Shining is a classic. I mean, I consider it like when people the scene of Jack Torrance hacking through the door, poking his face in, and here's Johnny. I mean, that is like an iconic scene that people who have never even seen the movie, I mean, that they know that the "here's Johnny" thing when they hear that, unless you're like kind of older, you compare it to Johnny Carson or whatever, but. Most people are gonna say when they hear that and they see that, they think of Jack Nicholson hacking through a door.
The Shining.
So I mean, like you can compare it because it is a sequel in a sense, but I mean, it's just not safe to be comparing like a newer movie that just came out like 2 days ago to a movie that's been around for decades and like it's still the stuff. I mean, the movie holds up. The Shining is like Alien and a lot of these other classic Halloween. These movies hold up well today. So. And when you go watch this movie, be careful. Don't try to I mean, you can compare it, but don't go into expecting I'm watching a renewed version of The Shining.
Right.
And I think that they kind of advertise it as that a little bit, but don't go into expecting that. I mean, if you go into expecting it's a good movie. I mean, you got Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, and
Ewan McGregor. I mean,
great actor.
Great actor. I mean.
I think actually a lot of the actors and actresses shine in this movie.
Yes.
And most of them I really haven't seen. Besides Ewan McGregor, I don't really know of anybody else in here that is a big name actor that has been in a lot of other stuff.
A lot of them are character actors. I know that the Crow Daddy, I think's his name. Like he's in Longmire. The other guy whose name I don't know, the chubby guy that's in The True Knot, he came from House and Haunting a Hill House. And also I gotta say I'm glad that the one thing they did with this movie that they didn't follow the tropes of another lot of movies where they do the CGI de-aging of characters or kind of insert them into things. So when you see the flashbacks, these are new people playing the older characters of Jack Torrance and Shelley Duvall's character in a little.
And the people that they cast did such a fantastic job.
The chick that did Shelley Duvall's character nailed it. The guy that did Jack Nicholson's character, Jack Torrance, nailed it. I mean, like. Just like his
young Danny nailed it.
His body language, young Danny nailed it. The facial expressions, the way you can tell these actors really study these characters like to the T. I mean, it's just
their mannerisms, the way they spoke.
I didn't know they did that, so I will say at first when you first see Shelley Duvall's new actress, I'm sorry I don't know her name, but when you first see it, it's a little jarring. I mean, because I guess new movies now they do such a good job CGIing. Or I thought they may just kind of reuse some old footage. Yeah. But when you first see it, is a little jarring at first, I will say. But, I mean, they just encompass these characters so well that it kind of, it didn't really bother me much. I mean, I actually enjoyed it. I'm glad they did it that way. I did. So it's a good job if you watch this review for going to the movie, so you know to expect that. But I think they did a great job. And also going on to the newer characters, that's not redoing old characters. The little girl who played the little girl whose name was Abra. Nailed it. Right. Great child actor. She nailed it, man. She is, man. Great job.
They really did. And it's just, it's so, and it's kind of rare that you see something like that. Like, I always hate in movies when they replace a character. Yeah, but the thing is, The Shining came out in 1980.
Which is also the address. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
Her house address is 1980. Mm-hmm. I meant to elbow you during the movie and say, point that out.
I did. I'm like that. That is a weird address because I definitely don't remember it being that in the book. But that so it has a lot of nods to The Shining.
Yeah.
But like you said before, and it wasn't like even that these characters that they bring back in aren't trying to just exactly replicate. They kind of put their own spin on it as well. But also with it feels like how the movie characters were. They did a really good job with that. But as far as comparing goes, again, if you've read actual The Shining book and read Doctor Sleep, you know that The Shining book and The Shining movie are different things.
Very different.
So just going in to watch this movie, kind of knowing that, know that Doctor Sleep has to do the same thing. It's following the Shining movie, not the book. Pretty much. Though there are some nods to the book that I definitely enjoyed, but I don't want to get into spoiler territory, there.
Which actually the director, when he talked to Stephen King about doing this movie, he had to do some serious convincing because I don't know if a lot of people who are in the know that Stephen King does not like Stanley Kubrick's The Shining at all.
Right. I know. I hated it.
So he had to do some serious convincing to Stephen King to let him do this in reference Stanley Kubrick's The Shining because it's more popular.
Right.
Because apparently the one that came out in '97, The Shining, was actually, I guess, produced by Stephen King. And of course, like I didn't even watch it. I mean, you try to watch it. I remember back years ago, and I think I just couldn't get into it.
It was an episodic show. It wasn't even a movie.
I mean, like,
it was a made-for-TV thing.
So I mean, and I would suggest people. I know Paul did it. Don't read the book and then immediately watch the movie. Don't do that with any movie. Don't ever read the book and then go because you're just going to be. Because I heard it the whole time, just like that didn't do this in the book. That wouldn't. Because I did that. I read Order of the Phoenix, which I know you hate Harry Potter. I did that with Order of the Phoenix. I finished reading the book the day I went to watch it.
Right.
So the whole time watching, I'm like, that's different. They didn't do that. Who's this character? What's his name? I mean, it's like, don't do that with any movie. Never. If you know movies coming out months ahead of time, maybe read the book and then give it a couple months before you watch the movie. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting there comparing it the whole time.
Right. So that's actually, he's right. I did do that. I read The Shining, then watched The Shining, then read Doctor Sleep, and then we went and watched Doctor Sleep. So I was fresh on everything. But I will say, rereading The Shining before going and watching Doctor Sleep, I actually enjoyed that because they actually incorporated some of the stuff from The Shining to kind of fix
like the whole
Doctor Sleep.
That's a spoiler.
Yeah. So. But I do think it's smart. So we actually have kind of differing opinions because you read Doctor Sleep a while ago.
Yeah.
So you know, like, hey, these are the characters. This is what's going on, but you don't know specifically the stuff they missed.
So long.
So I think
I wish I had reread it a couple months ago. Like I said, I wish because I remember me talking to you about doing this for a while back, and I wish I had read the book back then. Then it would kind of like a little bit settle in the bottom of my brain instead of being so fresh on top like you had, and that way I can kind of, I don't know. I mean, another thing you could do, watch the movie then read the book. I think you enjoy it more that way.
Yeah, I think you
enjoy it a lot more that way because a lot of people are like, oh, they feel like they're missing out if they don't read the book and then watch the movie. And another thing I try to stress to people, again going back to Harry Potter, keep them separate. Keep the worlds different. I mean, like whenever I watch the movies Harry Potter versus read the books, I separate them as two different worlds. Like maybe like alter world.
This is the director, like it's directorial intent.
Comic books versus movies, like Marvel world. I mean,
right?
They're different things, different universes. Enjoy them both. Try not to compare them too much.
Let the director do what they need to do.
Or if you do compare, don't compare them trying to down one versus the other. I mean, they're different. Like the Shining book, great book. Shining movie, great movie. Completely different,
right? And you can like more than the one more than the other, but still let that be on its own merit, And so that leads us into the likes versus dislikes.
Yeah.
So what did you like about the movie? Like, what do you think that the movie? We talked about how well done the characters and stuff was. Like, what did you like about this movie? That really stuck with you versus dislikes that are also going to stick with you.
I think one of my biggest likes is also one of my biggest dislikes. The pacing of the movie was great.
Right.
I felt like the movie kept moving.
At no point was I bored.
No, not at all. It kept moving. And another thing compared to The Shining, I think I mentioned before, all The Shining except for like maybe one or two scenes at most. I think only two scenes all take place at the Overlook.
Right.
The whole movie takes place at the Overlook. I like when movies do that. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Versus this movie, which is constantly scene change.
You're going all over America.
I think the only two places that keep recurring scene wise is his apartment and Abra's house, Jack Torrance's. Danny Torrance's apartment in Albert's house.
Right.
Those are the only two recurring. Otherwise, everything's constantly moving. The True Knock are constantly moving around. Because
the True Knot is a roving band of RV people, and so they're always moving. So yeah.
So my like is the pacing. My dislike is my biggest dislike is just that scene with the baseball boy. I'm not gonna go into details about it, but that scene, jeez, because it happened in the book. Like you said, I think it's so much worse seeing it visually. But Jesus Christ on the cross, that was that part it just kept dragging and dragging. And I went and watched it with my wife, and we have a little boy too. And God damn, man, that shit was fucked up. God damn, that was just. I mean, my wife said she don't know how to get out. I'm warning you people about this. Whenever that scene comes up, if you got kids or like that kind of stuff dealing with kids troubles you, I mean, maybe close your eyes or walk out for like 5 minutes, or if you're watching it at home, fast forward it, because I mean, it is not. I don't know why the fuck they. I mean, it's not that integral. I guess to show
it is integral.
I guess to show how fucked up these people are.
Yeah, I would say that it is
just too much, man. It's too much. It's too much.
So
too much. It carried on and carried on and carried on. God damn, that part.
It
stuck with me, dude.
Right,
like, it stuck with me all night long.
The bad guys of this movie, the True Knot, they are like kind of like vampires, but not really. The Shining,
not
that
human. They're not technically human anymore, are they?
Not anymore. Like vampires. So if you remember, Danny Torrance has something called The Shining, and this is something that kind of gives you. It's pretty much telepathy and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it degrades over time the older you get.
Right. So they actually find children and suck this out of children, but the only way to purify the steam, as they call it, is you have to torture the kid
and make them scared,
make them scared, hurt them. And so that is something that I was honestly worried that they would neuter for a movie, because like there's only so much that you can show. But that is actually my like for this movie, that they don't pull any punches. It definitely made me squirm in my seat, and that's not normally something that, I mean, it does.
Torture stuff doesn't bother me. I think it's just because it was a kid. I think that's the only problem.
But it also goes back to what we were saying before. The acting is so well done.
Yes, that little kid.
The kid.
That shit's just. Oh my god.
He acted too well. Like
Jesus, it was. And I hate this phrase. I hate this phrase. I hate when people say it. As a parent, okay. As a parent, dude, that just fucked with me bad, dude. And I've watched some fucked up stuff. I watched some dark stuff. Internet now, like I've just become so desensitized to stuff. And this, man, this thing, oh god, it fucked me up good, man. Like I'm gonna be dead honest with you. I kind of wish I didn't. I hadn't seen it. It was just so bad. It was just so the acting was. I know I'm rambling, but it was fucked up. I almost wish I'd have watched the edited version where they just cut it short. It was just so long.
But you needed that to understand why we hated the True Knot so much. So that is something that I hated but liked at the same time. The acting, we've talked about it numerous times. It's just something that I can't overstate. That they really the casting was just so well done. And again, I don't want to compare the movie to the book, but like the book was very much not a horror. Yeah, like it wasn't a horror novel.
Compared to The Shining was
very
terrifying.
Scary.
I mean, there were scenes in The Shining that I kind of wish they had put into the movie that was just, terrifying. And that I didn't really see any scenes. There was no scenes in Doctor Sleep that stuck with me like the scenes from I read The Shining years and years and years ago, and there's some scenes I remember so vividly in The Shining that was so scary, but I couldn't really compare that. Doctor Sleep was good. Don't get me wrong. If you want to read the book's great. Like if I was to give a rating on the book versus the movie, Shining's probably like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Doctor Sleep's probably like an 8.5, maybe 8 out of 10. You know what I mean? So I mean, The Shining's up here. Doctor Sleep's like right here.
I'm talking about book wise.
Yeah, book wise.
Yeah. So but you can definitely tell this is the director of The Haunting of Hill House, which is a very scary show. This movie is a horror movie. There's no two ways about it. This is not a fantasy movie. This is a horror movie. And as we mentioned before, pulling no punches and stuff like that. There are parts in this movie that legitimately creep me out. Like, I mean, especially getting closer to the end and stuff that happens. Like, there is some spooky stuff in this movie that if you read the book and you didn't like how much it took away the horror, you look forward to this movie because this is a true horror movie that I think was very well done, and the cinematography of this movie, some of these shots are so beautiful. It is just like, there was literally a part of the movie that I was like, if you cut this and put it in a loop, I would love to just fall asleep to this. Like, it's so relaxing, which is weird talking about because it's a horror movie, but it's just so well done. And this guy, I feel like he deserves to be put on more things.
The director?
The director.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm on IMDb right now as of 1/11 on the 9th of November. It has like a 7.9 on IMDb, which is great for a horror movie. Horror movies usually don't get really great reviews. So right now it's doing good. And I think The Haunting Hill House did great. He's getting the season 2's coming out soon, or it's coming out. I don't know if it's soon, but
I'm excited for.
I would be. This is definitely director. I'm going to be
keep your eye on.
Yeah, I mean he's coming into the horror scene. Nailed it with Haunting Hill House. Again, I highly suggest that show. Nailed it with Dr. Sleep, I think. So also speaking of cinematography, there's the scene of the hat, Rose the hat. Floating over the sky.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, that's the scene I was talking about specifically.
Great actress, by the way.
Yeah, great actress. So these are all the things that I like. Again, I very much like the movie, but my main dislikes of this movie is because I read the book. They cut out so many characters that I really enjoyed, and I mean, they cut out most of the characters from Dr. Sleep, and they also do not go too deep into the true knot. I mean,
I do wish they did that more. But I mean, like I think we talked about this before. I think it was you. Whenever you're making a book from a movie, you gotta trim a lot because you only have so much time to work with. Like if they made this into like a mini series on Netflix,
that would have been a good.
You could spend a whole episode, like an hour, or sometimes on Netflix they let them do like an hour and a half, just focusing on the true knot. But when you got like 2 hours, 2.5 hours to deal with, you got to trim a lot. You got to combine characters, delete characters, make characters one character. Which is why I said whenever you're going from book to movie, and you compare it to like in, again, going back to Harry Potter versus the movie versus book, Hermione in the book had this whole club that carried over every book. Never showed up in the movie. Not even one time.
Club?
Yeah, it was like a club she formed.
Like a book club type thing or something?
Sort of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was on like free nails or whatever, but I mean, it doesn't do with this, but you have to trim stuff. Like sometimes it's pretty big to you, but it's like if you're looking at the overall narrative, if I cut this out, how's it going to affect this narrative?
Right.
And then when you're sitting there in the trimming room floor, I mean, it sucks, but you got to do it. Otherwise, the movie's going to seem like it's dealing too much, or it's like, well, what was that even in there? If they bring it up, they don't delve too much in. It just feel like it's distracting from the narrative.
Yeah, I definitely felt like there was no fat in this movie. I feel like all the fat was trimmed away, so that's a dislike for me. But again, it's not. It doesn't take away from it too much. There are just some things that
I know what you said, like the character you liked a lot. You wish he like again he showed up.
And then he
nothing. Showed up for like 2 scenes and you never see him again.
So that's my. I understand why they did it. They did a lot of nods to characters that they didn't put in. So for me personally, that's a dislike. Other people, it's not going to bother. But for me, it's like, okay, well, you showed this character. Why even show him? Just don't even put him in. He could have been
involved more, and I don't think it would. Yeah, I agree with that. That character you're talking about could have definitely been implemented more into the movie. Why even introduce him in the first place? I mean, if you're not going to implement him, why introduce him in the first place?
Or Momo or any of them. Like, why even talk about them if you're not going to introduce them at all? But very few movies are perfect. The director probably did it because they felt like they should at least give a nod to these characters, even if they couldn't give all their time. Maybe it wasn't the shooting schedule, just something was messed up. I don't know what to say. That's just personally a dislike for me. But overall, there's not a lot. There's honestly, besides the character stuff, there's not a lot of dislikes in this movie for me.
No,
I very much enjoyed it. I liked this movie a lot. I will even say, for me personally, just because I enjoy horror more than anything, I liked this movie better than I liked the book. I like the book, but to me, I think this makes how The Shining was scary to me. This is scary to me. The book shows too much of the true knot. It shows them so often that they're such a big character that they're not scary anymore. this movie shows just enough of the True Knot that you are like, when you see them, they're terrifying.
They are terrifying. The actors and that's another thing. They didn't really show a lot of the other True Knot characters. They only delved into like 2, and then a little bit of 3, and then a little bit of the 4th.
Right.
So the other ones just kind of like facing the background, but they did do a good job, like just being this kind of like very stoic, almost expressionless, very creepy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They did a great job.
Yeah. I really just enjoyed it. So, like, overall, what would you say? What would you give it out of 10? Like, if you had to give it a rating, what would you give Dr. Sleep? The movie.
The movie. I'd probably give it. I give it a 7.8 out of 10.
7.8.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. I think, and it's funny because I feel like I had the most problems out of the movie that anybody that watched it, but I would still give it a solid 9 out of 10.
Really? Okay.
I think it was so smartly directed. I think that it was so beautiful, and you know, like, even though I miss the characters, I still have the book that I can read. Yeah. So those characters I can still read in the book. And I think that anybody who hasn't read it, they're not going to know that. So they're not going to be missing out on stuff.
Yeah.
So I personally, I think that it like, I would give it a 9 out of 10 just because I like it so much. I like the nods that they get. I like what they did with the ending. Actually, I love what they did with the ending.
The ending was great.
I think the ending was better in the movie than it was in the book. There's just, and
the ending was a nod to the Shining book.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was great. I'll say, like, if you're a fan of horror, or if you're a fan of the Shining, which I don't know if you'd be a fan of the Shining if you're not a fan of horror, but if you're a fan of either of those, definitely go see this movie. Yeah, this is a movie. Would you recommend waiting or seeing this in theaters? Is this something I have to see in theaters, or is this something I can wait for? I will say, for me personally, if you got a group of friends, it's good to go see in theaters. Otherwise, you can wait to watch at home. Horror, to me personally, this is a personal preference. I'm not trying to push this on other people. Horror is something I don't have to watch in theaters. Right. I sometimes prefer watching at home. Right. Like action movies are more of a thing I'd love to go see in theaters. But I mean, if you're going to the theaters to see a movie, and you like horror and The Shining, or like one of those two, you could definitely go watch it in theaters. Definitely go watch it in theaters. I think it was a great movie. I don't regret watching in theaters at all. Right. And theaters and movies are now like $13 a piece. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great movie. Highly suggest it. Very killed it. Great director. But yeah, I think I'd suggest watching in theaters. Yeah. Me personally, I definitely suggest seeing it in theaters, just because I love watching horror movies in theaters, just because of the environment. I would say, like I'm saying, if you're going with a group of people, or if it's like a packed house, like, you know what I mean. That's the best part of watching a horror movie, because everybody else is tense. Mm-hmm. And like, it's got some tense moments in this movie. It really does. As soon as I got out of the movie theater, I would definitely started texting other friends and be like, "Okay, you have to go see Dr. Sleep. Yeah, like, this is something that you have to go see." Mainly because I just want to talk about it. Yeah. Like, I enjoyed the movie so much that I just want to talk about it. And yeah, man. Yeah, last night we went and ate after the movie, and I tried not to talk too much about it, because it's definitely a movie, because like, we both watched and read all of them now. I guess it was the double sequel. I don't know, the 2 movies and the 2 books. We both watched and read them both, so it is fun comparing them all. And I will say, man, read The Shining and read Dr. Sleep. Read them. They're great. They're great books, especially The Shining, man. It's still cool to read, Yeah. Kindle, Amazon's gone out of its way to make it easy for you to enjoy, the books. I mean, you got Audible. Yeah. You got Kindle. Not sponsored, by the way. So, I mean, it's so easy. I mean, Stephen King's books are so fucking long, too. So, having the Audible and the Kindle version of something and be able to listen while you drive, to pick right up and read it, I mean, it makes it easy. I mean, I read it. Yeah. And the book's like that fucking thick. I mean, it is a huge ass book. The audiobook of it is 44 hours long. Yeah. That's a work week. That's overtime in a work week, bro. Yeah. These aren't quite that long, luckily. Yeah. I don't think Dr. Sleep's that long at all. Dr. Sleep's a little bit longer than The Shining. Is it really? Mm-hmm. I don't remember being that long. I guess I'm going to reread both of them, I think. I got both on Kindle. Yeah. They were, man, really good. But yeah, so I think we both can say that we suggest it. We both liked it very much. If they continue to do so, I mean, I think that there's a way for there to maybe be another one. You think so? I think there's a way to be another one. If it follows a little girl, maybe? Well,
well, no spoilers or anything. So like, I think there's a way that they could do more. You know, it doesn't have. We don't like now that they've set up this bigger universe. It doesn't have to follow Danny or anything like that. You know, like there are other people that it can follow.
Yeah, I got you saying, yeah.
But yeah, so
I mean, if Stephen King goes back to the old pen and paper and makes us another book,
good.
I mean, the dude's just printing money.
He really is.
Why would he not?
I would. I mean, make this thing a threequel.
Yeah, I mean, I love when people expand on the universe. I mean, there's a universe now. You know, we know there's more people to Shining now. Expand on it more.
And people that are after The Shining. You know, that suck it out or whatever. But yeah, so man, Chris, I really appreciate you for stopping in and doing this review with me.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it.
Appreciate you coming over and watching the movies. I had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I look forward to. I'm actually not joking when I say I look forward to seeing this movie again when it comes out, because this is a movie that I do think, you know, I think it deserves more than one viewing, because I think there might be some stuff that I missed.
There's a lot of Easter eggs for sure. I mean, a lot of them. I think that's one thing that Stephen King does with a lot of his stuff, puts Easter eggs for all his stuff. You know, all his other movies.
And this director did too. The director put Easter eggs all through the movie, and I thought that was really cool. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let us know, you know, what you thought of the movie. If you go and see it, if you've read the books, let us know what you think of the comparison.
If you'd like to see more comparison stuff, we could even do comparison videos, on comparing the Shining to the Shining book, Doctor Sleep to the Doctor Sleep book. Right. I mean, we talked about a little bit here, but we can delve more into it.
If you guys want a review, a spoiler video that goes more into the differences between the books versus the movies,
we can do that too.
If you guys are interested in that, we'd actually love to do something like that. But it's up to you guys, you know, what you guys want to see. But we would definitely both be super into doing that, and we have a lot to say, so might as well do it on camera.
That's all in guarantee.
That is an all-in guarantee. But yeah, guys, like I said, appreciate you for stopping by, and we hope to see you next time.
Yep.
Bye-bye.